Jared Coote joins us again on the desk to bring us the latest sport headlines. And Jared, we often see all the highs that come with an Olympic and Paralympic athlete, but things can get tough behind the scenes, especially when it comes to juggling parenthood and earning a living and just really performing at that elite level.
Yeah, plenty of hurdles along the way, and no one knows more about that than Paralympian Kate Ness. Kate competed in the para-triathlon at the Rio 2016 Games. She then retired to have a family, but decided to return to training with the aim of competing at the Paris Paralympics, only to face significant hurdles. Kate found she had to make some tough choices between her own sporting dreams or providing for her family, and we're lucky enough to have Kate joining me now. Kate, thanks so much for your time this morning. Now, tell me about your journey as an athlete and why you decided to make a comeback initially to para-triathlon and why you must now retire for a second time.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. So I had an extensive career in equestrian for a long time, representing Australia at quite a high level internationally. And then a few years short of Rio, transitioned into triathlon. So ironically, I then had some amazing experiences. I was on the podium at World Championships and quite a successful international racing career leading into Rio. And then after Rio, like probably quite a lot of athletes out there would relate to, we want to try and also, if you want to have a family, time that around big significant events like the Olympics or Paralympics. So we're fortunate enough to fall pregnant with our son Henrik and gave birth to him in 2018. And then I returned to international racing with the plan to qualify for Tokyo. I was 7 months postpartum when I was competing internationally and actually being on the podium. We all know about what happened in 2020 with COVID hitting. So that actually put a huge impact, not only on everyone's lives, but for athletes too. We had the games postponed for the next 16 months. The plan initially for me was to look at Tokyo as my retirement, so we could actually then continue to expand the family. But the crux of it was with a 16-month postponement, that meant another 16 months actually of what it would be before we could consider falling pregnant. I struggled a lot with what that was like being a mum, and my age too, being in my late 30s, of what it might look like for us and the ability to fall pregnant if we were to continue that extra 16 months. So even though I was in the best shape physically and mentally leading into Tokyo, I had to make the decision to retire just to make sure I could put myself physically and mentally and my family in the best position to try and have another child.
Yeah, and what did a day look like for you at that stage where you were trying to work, trying to be a mother and trying to train at this elite level once again?
Yeah, I think after our first child was born, I was so fortunate to have the support of some significant people around me in my daily training environment. So my coach went above and beyond to help with that. But that's not the case all the time in sport for every athlete. And we had a great high performance director that actually supported me because I was in the system as well. So I did have that financial support that enabled me to travel. But the reality of what it does take to compete and be competitive at elite level, and I think sometimes people don't necessarily see that at the Paralympic level, that it's actually the same as elite athletes that are Olympic athletes. And it did take a bit of a mental and physical toll, because what's required to be elite and also having a young child is quite hard. So you've got to back up the sleepless nights and the unknown of what that brings with a little baby. And then for our sport, it's training 2 to 3 sessions a day, 7 days a week. So obviously your ability to recover can be impacted. And then also trying to bring in some financial support if you do not have a specific amount of sponsors that you're building from yourself, and what that entails for you from a workload can be quite hard to juggle.
So from a support perspective then, what could have been done to prevent someone like you needing to retire for a second time from the sport as you did here?
Yeah, I would have loved to continue my pursuit towards Paris. I think trying to support a family then with another child in tow made it even more complex. And unfortunately, I just wasn't able to balance what I needed to do work-wise to support the family, as well as be able to travel with a baby that I was breastfeeding. So I was never going to be able to sacrifice leaving our little baby, Sophie, at home just to try and qualify. And unfortunately, I couldn't just make it work to fund myself and a carer to qualify. So to actually then commit to even full-time training with the unknown of actually getting to a qualifying race was a bitter pill to swallow. So I'm not sure. I think, that was kind of the reality of what it was. It was out of my control. And because I was out of the system, because I had retired, it was quite difficult. So I don't think I was able to pull it all together. But I think there's great opportunity of, maybe I wouldn't have tried to come back a second time. I think having a background in psychology is great for me, and I was able to work through that initial retirement, but it doesn't mean it wasn't easy. It was a really dark period of time for me transitioning out of sport the first time, because I've struggled quite a lot with self-worth, and my identity was so fixated on who I was as an athlete. So I think there's opportunity there that perhaps if we work with athletes from a really young age so they can understand sport is something they do, it's not entirely who they are, that the inevitable of retirement, whether that's something you choose to do or it becomes out of your control like myself, is that we're able to transition in a more healthy way. So that makes it so much more beneficial that we can build their self-worth and identity beyond sport.
Absolutely. Well, Kate, I thank you very much for your time this morning. I wish you all the best on all your future endeavours.
Thanks, Jared.